Hello world family, this is Jaden's Videos, and today I'm going to be doing my first official horror movie review on this channel. I've wanted to do a horror movie review for a long time on this channel, or reviews on this channel for a long time, because my channel is of course about all things Halloween, scary, horror, anything creepy, and I love horror movies obviously as I make them and upload them on this channel. I've just never really gotten around to making a horror review, but I'm going to try to make that a more common thing on this channel now, so expect this to hopefully, if I stick to it, hopefully start me doing more horror movie reviews and horror movie videos on this channel. So, with that out of the way, the first one we are going to talk about, as you saw in the title, is the one that came out yesterday, and, well, when I'm recording this, which is March 10th, I saw it last night, Scream 6. A little bit of background on me with Scream before I get into this. Scream is my favorite horror movie of all time. My number one favorite has moved around a lot over the years. I've thought of making a ranking horror movie video on this channel too in the past, which I might do eventually. But beside the point, Scream has always been, well, not always, but my favorite horror movie of all time has moved around a lot because there's a lot that I love. I love The Exorcist, The Shining, Black Christmas. There's a lot. Those are some of the tops though, and Scream has always been up at the top, but I wasn't sure if it was my favorite or not. A couple years ago I decided this has to be my definitive favorite, and it stayed that way. I love Scream, the original Scream. I think the other Scream films are great too, but I don't think any match the original, but I still love all of them. I was very, very excited for this film because just seeing the reappearance of Ghostface on screen is always great, and they really made this one seem really big. I will get into my opinions on the killer reveal and stuff like that later on in this video in a section where I'm going to be talking about spoilers, because I don't want to do that here in case any of you just want to review without spoilers. That killer reveal is going to play a lot into my opinion of it, so if you've already seen it or just don't care about spoilers, stick around for that. If you just want to review spoiler free, that's going to be at this beginning portion. It takes place on Halloween, or the few days leading up to Halloween, which I've said this many times. I don't understand why they sometimes release films that take place on Halloween at complete different times of the year than Halloween. I don't get it. I really think it would have been cool to have this come out in October instead of March, because the vibe would have been more there for Halloween, but whatever. The big premise for this one is that it takes place in New York, and that is something very different for a Scream movie, and it's very much so. Scream has always been a meta franchise, and it's very much so going back to Jason Takes Manhattan with the fact it's in New York. That is the one Friday the 13th film I have not seen yet, but I know it has mixed opinions. I do want to see it, but it's very much so like that. And they actually do have Jason Takes Manhattan playing on the TV in one scene, so I give him props for that. That's awesome. Of course, we have some great performances. Mostly, I think what's going to be of most people's interest right now because of her newfound popularity is Jenna Ortega, which she delivers. She does a great performance, just as she did in the last Scream. She did a fantastic job in this one as well, and I really commend her for that. We also had, of course, Courtney Cox return as Gale Weathers, and we did not have Sydney in this one, unfortunately, Neve Campbell as Sydney, because there's just some issues going on behind the scenes with that. Not going to get into that in our review, but unfortunately we didn't have Sydney in this one, and I feel like you could feel it throughout the film. Not to say that ruined other parts of it, but I feel like you could definitely feel the fact that Sydney wasn't in it. Because, I mean, it's the first film movie that doesn't have Sydney. It was just kind of weird. But we had some pretty cool things, and also Kirby from Scream 4 returned, which I know a lot of people are excited about that. And I know that was already known. That's not really a spoiler. I'm pretty sure she was shown in trailers and stuff, so I know a lot of people know about that. I feel like she added a lot to it. I was never as big of a Kirby fan as some other people were. I don't know why, I just never was. But I feel like she definitely added to it because she was another legacy character. Now, one thing I have that's a problem with this one is the New York setting is not very prominent. I mean, they mentioned that it's in New York. There's a subway section which was shown in trailers and stuff. But you don't have any New York landmarks. You don't have any major New York atmosphere to it, which is kind of weird because I feel like they didn't even need to put it in New York, because it's not really, a lot of the tagline was like, in New York no one can hear, in a city of millions no one can hear you scream or whatever. That never really played into it. Nothing like that really happened, like something where they get lost in the city or whatever and separated never really happened, which is very strange considering that was their main promotion for this film. So the New York thing, as cool of an idea as it is, it didn't really turn out the way they wanted, which I think one of the main reasons is because it wasn't shot in New York. It was somewhere It might have been somewhere in Canada, I don't remember, but I know it wasn't shot in New York. And so I think that's the main reason why, but I'd say at that point, just don't even make it take place in New York if you can't shoot in New York. But whatever, with that out of the way, Ghostface was awesome in this one. I mean, the mask was all corroded and decayed, and there is reasoning for that, which I will get into in the spoiler section, but Ghostface was just super cool in this one. He was so intense. It's the most intense we've ever seen him. There was a lot of gore, a lot of crazy things happened. I don't think the kill count was very high, actually, but there was a lot of gore, and the Ghostface was very, very intense in this one. Like, you could tell he couldn't care. He was committing these murders in front of hundreds of people and did not care. So that I really liked. And this is going to be my segue into the spoiler section. Spoiler section is going to start now, so turn it off if you don't want it. That is one reason that it kind of left me disappointed. I think the film overall was good. A lot of people say it's the best Scream film since the first. I don't think that. I feel like it was lacking in a lot of spots, but I feel like for the most part it was pretty good. There were some solid performances, great cinematography, great all of that, as always. I mean, it's what you would expect from a Scream film. And I feel like there was some real tension, and that Ghostface being so insane was awesome. I left last night feeling a little more upset about it than I am right now because of the ending. But now I'm a lot more just relaxed about it and more like, okay, maybe we'll have that next time. There's a theory that's been going around for a while now that Stu is the killer, or he will return as the killer. Stu being the killer from the first Scream, one of the killers from the first Scream, because there's a theory that he didn't die because he wasn't supposed to die in Scream 3 and all of that. Now, it's just a theory that's been circulating for a while, and in the last movie I thought he would just because I wanted to buy into the theory, and as a major fan of the first film, something like that would be absolutely insane to see happen. But in this one, I actually had reasoning to believe it would happen. The mask was old and decayed, and as revealed later in the film, it actually belonged to Billy Loomis of the first film. The killer was leaving masks from all the other films leading back to the first one, and they mentioned that explicitly. They mentioned Stu dying on the TV a lot. The new character Mindy, which I actually really like, I didn't mention her. She's basically the new Randy. She came from the last one. I actually really like her. But the new character Mindy, she mentioned herself, if you believe that Stu is dead, obviously because of the meta commentary and everything, but she mentioned that herself. And I think one of the biggest hitters for this, not only the Ghostface shrine, but the fact that the killer said to Gale on the phone, "I can't believe I've never talked to you," on the phone. It really makes you think it's going to be an old character, and Stu has been something that everyone's theorized for a while. I really thought it was going to be Stu. It wasn't. I am a little less upset about it than I was last night. I was upset about it because this whole film, they built up like it was something big. I mean, this Ghostface was meaner and scarier than ever. All these things were pointing to something huge. And what the killers were is the family of Richie from the last movie. I don't hate any of the new characters that they've got in these requels. Like I said, I really like Mindy. I also like Jenna Ortega's character and the main character, Sam. I do like them. But I'm not as invested as I am in the overall storyline of Scream, which they have continued into this new requel. But they're also bringing in new characters, which is fine. But I would really like, in the last one, I'm fine with it because it was the new revamped version that they're introducing now. But with this one, they just pointed so much towards something happening that involves the first one. I don't know why they strayed away from it. It would make sense if they didn't mention it too much, but the whole plot kind of revolved around centering around the plots of the others, and it was just the family of Richie from the last one. Though I do really like that it was very reminiscent of Scream 2, with the family wanting revenge because Sam killed Richie, whereas Sidney killed Billy and in the second one, Billy's mom wanted to kill Sidney because of that. I think that was really cool. I really like the main Ghostface, the dad. I don't remember his name, but the sheriff dad. He was really cool because even after he took the mask off, he seemed really unhinged. He seemed like a really scary character. And though I wasn't shocked myself because I was building up to a bigger shock than that, I was kind of just like, oh, okay. I do feel that that was actually a pretty cool shock for anyone who wasn't already had it in their head, it's going to be Stu. That's kind of my own fault. But I feel like the film also played into that way too much, like I said. But I liked him. The two other killers, they weren't in the film that much. And I feel like the problem is if you're going to have a big shock killer at the end, don't use characters that are in the film hardly. They were hardly in the film, and so I didn't really feel anything when they got, revealed. I was like, okay. However, I will say having 3 killers is very cool. That's awesome. It's something that's never been done before. Though I thought this was going to be 1 killer because it was Stu, I think the 3 killer thing is cool. Now, do I think in Scream 7 that Stu's going to be the killer? I will say, there were a lot of things in this film pointing to him coming back. Is it possible? Yes. Do I know for sure? I don't know. But as it stands, Scream 6, though I was left disappointed by the ending, the more I think about it, and I'll probably rewatch it again soon, the more I think about it, the more I ponder on it, the more I realize that this one probably just wouldn't have been the best one to bring back Stu anyways, because Sidney wasn't there. And for Sidney to be there, you need Stu. Or for Stu to be there, you need Sidney. Do I think he'll come back in the next one? I am starting to think he might because there's so many things pointing to it. But that also makes me appreciate this one more than I did at first, thinking that, okay, this just wasn't the one. I still think they shouldn't have leaned into it as much as they did, but other than that, I think it was a pretty fine movie. I don't think it was one of the best Screams, but I do think it was a good one. If you like Scream, then you definitely want to go see it. I hope you all enjoyed this review. I know it was a little wonky and stuff because it was my first official horror movie review I've done on this channel. I'll get better at them as I do them, but I hope you enjoyed this for what it was, and I hope you enjoyed hearing my thoughts on it. If you haven't seen it already, go check out Scream 6. It's pretty solid. Keep howling at the moon, my werewolves.